Now it's time for today's perspective. And my guest today is a woman who's fought in the trenches on the front line in Ukraine. Initially a military doctor, after the death of her boyfriend in the war, she became a soldier herself for the Ukrainian armed forces. On top of fighting the enemy, she also finds the time to write. Her award-winning book, originally in Ukrainian, also in English, called Dasein, The Defense of Presence, or in French as well, C'est ainsi que nous, demeurons, libres. The book receiving the Taras Shevchenko National Prize of Ukraine for Literature in 2024. And tonight she is appearing at the Théâtre de la Ville, or here in Paris, in association with the Ukrainian Institute in France. Well, Yaryna Chornohuz joins us here on set. Thanks very much for coming in and talking to us today. To give us a bit of an idea of your poetry, I know you've got a little section that you're going to read for us. Would you like to do that at the beginning?
Yes, this poem is about people in Ukraine who are these days are dying under Russian strikes, and this one is about my comrades. How quietly you left the poem of your lives, hidden in the web. My sun goes down and fades away, following you. Language loses the hermetism of images. Words lose their urgency once more. When I look at the three asterisks that divide your lives, surrendered to the light, if only we could hold onto a bit of that light forever. Who will count you, knowing in the end the number doesn't matter in that sum when one equals one life, one pair of eyes that sees the sun from the earth. One person's embraces worth the sun and the world. How deep this pit is, end to end, the time in a lunatic double, gazing east and deep down. I want to tell you a bit about a love they never told you about, but all that is left of words is this insight, how quietly you left.
Passionate words. I mean, why or how do you manage to find the time to write poetry when you're doing what you're doing on a daily basis?
Actually, for me, as for lots of Ukrainian artists who are on the front line, the art is a kind of a therapy, is a kind to save the truth of humanity that we have on this war, because war makes everyone very unhuman, and especially the Russian war. When you allow yourself to have voice, even in this condition, when you see death and you and your relatives live in the rear under alarms and airstrikes, it makes you a little bit bigger, because on the war everyone feels very small.
So presumably it's therapy for yourself, and also, of course, for people reading the poetry as well?
Yes, in the modern world the voice is power, and we try to not to give up this power of voice. So that's why we dare to write poems.
Tell me a bit about yourself, because you started off, didn't you, as a medic?
Yeah, I was a combat medic. I signed up in 2020 to Ukrainian Marines. When full-scale invasion began, we already were on the front line for 8 months, and we were ready to have a rest, but instead we had 4 years more. And yes, I had this 4 years as a combat medic, and I'm really proud for doing this job for Ukraine. I'm happy to survive because we have a lot of females who are also combat medics and other professions who passed away, unfortunately, for these years. Now I change my profession to drone pilot because I wanted to influence the battlefield a little bit more, and I'm trying doing my best in this as well.
Yeah, and why did you make that decision to take that extra step, if you like, to actually become, a full-scale, if you like, member of the military?
Before military, I was a student, actually philologist, full literature, and dreamed of literature career. But back in 2019, 2020, I felt that this situation in the world, when all world start forgetting the war, and people who were there in combats, because even before full-scale invasion we had this very difficult type of war, very slow war, where like my boyfriend was killed, and I decided that I should go because our enemy will use the situation, and I wasn't right. I was right in the end that it did happen. So I hope now we won't have the same situation when we have in 2019, 2020, when everyone forget about what our nation is up to, and create the situation which Russia used again.
And how difficult is it as a woman to be in the trenches fighting as well, and being a drone pilot?
I think there are people who are suitable to army, both men and women, and there are people who may be less suitable. Anyway, in Ukraine we are not asked, it's just our duty of all Ukrainians to go and defend our lands. I feel myself actually proud for what I'm doing, because I love my country and my nation, and I don't want it to quit existing.
How alone do you feel when you're out on the battlefield? Do you feel the support of others around you, both in Ukraine and outside of Ukraine, or does it feel very much like a one-on-one battle against the Russian army?
Well, first of all, every person on the front line is very alone, feel very lonely, especially when you have years after years and you don't know when will it end. But of course we feel support. We feel support of Europeans here. They're on the front line, and it gives hope, of course, and each other. The main source of power is your comrade and people who surround you there.
I notice you use the word hope there. I mean, do you have hope for the future?
Hopes and dreams are very dangerous on the front line, because sometimes they make you weak. When you're a soldier, it is easier to give up everything, hopes and dreams. But of course, we are all humans, and sometimes, yes, we start hoping that we will have a chance to have a peaceful life again.
And you're here in Paris, aren't you, to appear at this event this evening at the Théâtre de la Ville. Tell us about that.
I'm like super excited and super worried, because it's very unusual to go like from the Kherson, where I have my service, to the theater and to read there, and it's like an honor for me. I'm going to read my favorite poem by Apollinaire. When I was on the road here, I read it like 10 times in my train, and you know, he wrote like 100 years ago, but when I'm as a soldier reading his calligram, I feel a lot of the same, as if it was written by someone who was in fights with me.
And poetry very much part of your future as well, do you see?
I wish I could write more poetry collection, and not only about war. Not we don't want to write about war. We want to write about something else, of course. But as I had, we don't have choice. So I hope to today in Théâtre de la Ville. I hope to give like this feeling of love that we all have there in Ukraine. To our country and to the freedom, because freedom is most important, what we are fighting for.
Thanks very much for being with us on the programme today. Lovely to have you with us here, and I hope the event goes well tonight as well. Yaryna Chornohuz, the books, once again, are called, in English, Dasein, The Defensive Presence, or in French, c'est ainsi que nous, demeurons, libres, and it's at the Théâtre de la Ville this evening here in Paris, if you happen to be in Paris and you want to go along. Thanks very much once again for coming in and talking to us.